So today, this is my first time that I'm speaking at a RICS event. So I will introduce myself. I'm a civil engineer by education. I worked as planning engineer with DLF. I worked as structural designer with WSP. And then my journey took a different turn. I started a company which was building technology for logistics sector. And in 2021, that company got acquired. And that's when I had a breathing space. Me and my colleagues decided to commit our life to digitizing construction. So we looked at the problem that there's no right full stack project management solution available for India market that works in Indian context. So why not we do it? We have the experience in bits and pieces. While we had the experience on a broad level, we didn't really understand the nuance of the problem that we are trying to solve. So at that time in 21, we took a crazy decision wherein we said that, okay, let's set up a design and build company itself, and along the way understand what are the critical processes. And when I look backwards, I think this is the second best decision of my life, wherein in process of scaling the design build operations and building the technology, we understood what is the signal and what's the fluff. And while there is this entire conundrum of digitizing project management, which is in everybody's mind, I think there's not awareness or learning out there in terms of when you are approaching digitization, how do you really approach it, what to digitize first, what ROI to expect, and things of this nature. So in this course of presentation, I will like to share my learnings on how you really digitize a construction project management in context of fit out and how you go about it. Now, my learning largely comes from being in the promoter shoe of a design build company and in the later stint working with almost 300 plus companies from RDash perspective in terms of digitizing their operations. So first, let's talk about how do you approach digitization when you are running a construction company. So basically what happens is when we speak to people, when we speak to our customers, they want to digitize their operations, but they get confused around the start point. So they quickly jump from the very basic to a very, very super deep tech, right? And they want everything all at place at a single instance in time. I have seen that this approach to digitization generally does not work, right? You put in some effort in implementing, let's say, an IoT technology that measures some kind of a tracking or some kind of progress, but you have not done the right foundation to that in place. So you do it on one project, you feel very happy about it, but then the euphoria dies down and then technology is not sustaining in your ecosystem. So that's how the start and stop of digitization effort that is largely this industry is going through. So in my view, one way to approach digitization is you first set your foundation layer in place. When I say foundation layer, you really look at how your different teams, your design team, procurement, finance, project management, quantity surveyor, how these teams interact with each other, how seamlessly the data is digitally flowing from one team to another. So basically, in the foundation layer of digitization, you largely digitize the handoffs between one team to another. And here we are talking about bringing together very simple, mundane processes that you are doing on a day in, day out basis. Like how do you release your purchase order? How do you log your change order request to your customers? How do you reconcile your payments? How do you track your project progress? So basically you're doing all these things in bits and pieces. The idea of layer one foundational workflow is you bring all this workflow together at a common interface. So when you do this, you see some kind of advantage in terms of you have better reconciliation going, you have better visibility across your entire life cycle of projects. So you plug those small gaps, you save some money, you get better control on your cash flow. So these kind of benefits comes along when you fix layer one foundational workflows. Then you go to the layer two foundation, wherein you say that, okay, now I have my handoffs clearly laid out between different teams. Now, how do I fine print these workflows for excellence? When I say fine print these workflows for excellence, wherein you can say, you take initiatives like, I have my BOQ, so how can I have my material control on a BOQ line item so that I can have, a profitability control at an element level? Can I have all my suppliers on a rate contract so that I can easily consume my, whenever I'm placing an order, I have a control on all my payables, right? So these kind of excellence workflows, which are basically a fine print of layer one workflows, which are largely sitting on the foundation of layer one workflows. So that's how you go to some sort of excellence which gives you additional ROI. And on top of it, you bring out these deep tech interventions. For example, you say that you have found this great deep tech solution wherein if you have your design files, it auto quantifies your BOQs, right? When you have this kind of technology, if you already build a system to manage your design files and BOQ in a certain way, you just have to plug it at the right places, and this empowers your entire organization. So this is one approach to digitization wherein you do the basics, make your operations hygienic at a single platform, fine print them for excellence, and then bring deep tech intervention is largely the flow that me and my team advocates when we speak with our customers. Let's zoom out and say that, okay, even if you know what is the approach, what are you digitizing for and what is the value of digitization? There's still a lot of debate here, because inherently, if you see, technology is almost playing a frenemy kind of a role when it comes to the actual user on ground, right? They like to get digitized, but not so much. So that's largely the state of affairs, and there's always a debate going on what is the real ROI of digitization. So therein comes the sensitization about this fact that in every construction project life cycle, there are these 5-6 very important stakeholders who are always playing a role. So there's this design team, quantity surveyor, procurements, site teams, which are project managers, and finance team, which are doing the reconciliation. Now, all of these functions, business functions, are sort of a specialities. Like, people practically get educated and trained for doing these things. A designer studies architecture, understand how to work with design software. Similarly, quantity surveyor are specialists in their own field. So basically, if you are running a construction project management or a fit-out project management, you have these 5 teams working, and every guy in each of these teams is a specialist in their own field. And the problem is in working with specialists is that they want to do their job exceptionally well, whilst they are not always aware about the big picture or the macro goal that as an organization they are chasing. And that's where the problem is. When each of these teams work on their own disconnected system and chasing their own side of excellence, the handoff between one department to another department is not very smooth, and that's where your margins goes to die. And we all sort of understand this. I just want to reiterate it just to build a deeper context for the further slides, that from the design side, a designer is managing the design file, but if the project team is not working at the right version of the design file, then there's errors and wastage, then you are losing money, right? QS and billing team, they have a very exceptional, you can say, quality to their work in terms of quantifying the designs into the BOQs. But your projects team is working on a different version of your BOQ, your procurement is working on a different version of BOQ, and client is having altogether a different version of BOQ. By having exceptionally smart QS team does not help you save margins just because they are not working, they are not on the same page. Similarly, the rest of the things kind of unfold when it comes to managing a real construction project. So one established fact that we have seen is, if your handoffs between one department to another department are broken, that's where you are losing money on your project. Even if you are an occupier or even if you are a design build company, in both the scenarios, handoffs are the real place that you want to digitize first. These are the gaps that you want to fix. And after that, you can look for excellence. Now, when we are saying, okay, if we are talking about handoffs, take a slightly deeper view and look at the fine print of entire workflow that we need to digitize. This is how the entire workflow looks like, right? So basically, in the pre-bidding stage, when you are filling tenders, you are filing multiple quotations, you are having multiple revisions on your project. So a lot of information is getting back and forth between your customers and your company. And your sales, quantity surveying, and design team is largely actively coordinating around this stage. Once your tender is awarded to you, then your design teams works with projects team to capture the deep nuance of your construction site. Then you create the construction drawings wherein your design projects team are collaborating. After the design stage or along with the design stage, you have your billing, design, and quantity survey teams which are working on creating the project scope. Along with the project scope is created, then your finance and procurement comes into the picture wherein you decide that how this scope is going to be packaged out to different kind of suppliers. And then your site teams comes into picture, which works with all the rest of the teams to make sure that the project is coordinated till the last handover. So this is the entire workflow that you are looking to digitize. But this is too much to attempt even in the first go. Even if you talk about the basic workflow implementation, we have seen that even this is too much to attempt. So what we say, the layer 1 foundation is just the shorter version of it, is wherein we have seen the maximum ROI is. What you can do in the beginning is, you have your project scope, right? From your project scope, you are giving your orders to your suppliers. In the current stage, what's happened is you are having an Excel sheet which is going to an ERP, and when the supplier is giving the final invoice, you are giving a different Excel sheet which is going in ERP. So what one change you can bring, the smallest change that you can bring in your system which will save you 5% of the cost saving is, you just start having a digital record of every order item that you are giving to your supplier. And when the final invoice from the supplier comes, you update this digital record and you connect this digital record of supplier orders to your client BOQs. So basically what's happening is, then the extra quantity deviation that you are paying to your suppliers, they will not go unchecked, right? A project manager will be cautious while he's punching the final quantities or approving the final quantities for a supplier invoices, because then he has to be answerable to collect the same money or to get the same quantities approved from the client side as well. So this is one smallest workflow you can digitize, and this workflow, digitizing this workflow largely requires, a little bit of extra work from, projects or procurement side just to punch in the right kind of numbers. And there you sort of get additional 5% cost saving on your project, and you feel on top of your documentation and cash flow. Along with this, one additional thing that we advocate is what's happening in construction project management, especially if I look from the supplier side, from the lens of a promoter of a design build company. What's happening is a promoter is always forever entrenched in managing the cash flows of the project, and he's taking every small and large call around the project. So therein, and why he's supposed to do that is that there's no real measure of where your project is lying as on current date. So there's this practice that we figured out that a lot of matured companies are using in the West, but is not so percolated in India, is there's something called as installed work progress. So on your BOQ that you are gotten from your customers, on a weekly basis, if your team is reporting that how much percentage of that BOQ is installed, right? This is different from activity progress. We are saying that, okay, if my tiles is 100 square feet, 40 square feet of that is installed. So that means 40% of that line item is installed. And that, like the same way you can know that how the total percentage of your BOQ is installed, that creates a real measure for you to know where you are lying in terms of the real cash flow on this particular project. So if you are measuring your installed work progress, then you can make your project manager owner of your project P&L, wherein you can say that, okay, if you are reporting 60% progress, and I have planned in the beginning that on 60% progress, this is where we should be standing on the cash flow. So you either collect the money from the customers or you delay the supplier payment. So basically then management, the leadership don't have to be involved in every single cash flow decision on a day-to-day basis. So measuring installed work progress along with the layer 1 foundation workflow becomes the foundation of digitization that you can start with. If you do this right, this is easy to implement. It takes hardly 3 to 4 weeks to get done right. And this is very, very sticky, and that allows you to a very big leeway to digitize the entire other side of workflow. And this is a little bit about the opportunity, and this is practically what we are trying to do as well, that when we entered this sector, we looked at that India and Middle East context. There are a lot of global software like Autodesk Construction Cloud, Procore, which provides the entire construction management lifecycle at a single place, wherein you can manage your projects, wherein you can manage your procurement, finances, and everything. But those softwares are not operatable in Indian context because they expect a certain methodical way of working. They are bulky to operate for Indian companies. So that's where RDash comes in. We have brought in this entire workflow of managing projects, procurement, finance, quantity surveying, billing, everything at one place, stitched out of box so that you don't have to figure out any kind of data management or correlation, and you can just go ahead and put your digitization on a fast track. This is a snippet of things that you can do on RDash, the software that we have launched. But to understand more about RDash, probably that's not the right forum. We can connect offline, and if anyone has any queries, we'll be happy to address that. While we are here, what we've done is in collaboration with RICS, if we are talking about this digitization of fit out and construction at large, the key aspect that needs to change is the people on ground, the project managers at large, but the quantity surveyors, designers, and everybody who is actually doing the heavy lifting, they need to understand that project management is beyond coordination and managing those Gantt chart. There's a wider bunch of activities and wider things at stake here. You need to think about cash flows, you need to think about your margins, you need to think about your change management, scope management. You need to be, thinking about things which are beyond your specialization as well. And that's where the education is missing. A project manager largely wants to go deeper and deeper specialized about how they do the project coordination and tracking better, whilst spending very low amount of energy and effort in understanding the other aspect of the project management lifecycle. So this white paper precisely addresses the same thing, wherein which you can read or you can share to your mid managers or your entry level folks in your companies. This will help them understand what are the different stages of a project management, what are the problems that are to be addressed at each of the stages, and what are the suitable remedies, so that whenever you are getting stuck at your new construction project, you have somebody stepping up and saying that, hey sir, I can hold my ground on this part of the process as well, and you can have a better cohesive experience around delivering those projects. So this is all from my side. Thank you for listening, and with this, I think we'll go to the next session.
Thank you so very much.